Renborg's new associate, a radio show psychologist named William S. Castleberry, and his future partner, a veteran of cemetery plot sales named Lee Mittinger, would soon take over sales and marketing responsibilities from Renborg and also facilitate his dream of making history. But it didn't play out quite like Renborg envisioned. Under Castleberry's and Mittinger's marketing plan, Renborg's Nutrilite company would become forever known as one of the first and most notable supplement companies to be prosecuted by the U.S. government for deceiving both consumers and salespeople. The case would go down in history, litigated all the way to the U.S. Supreme Court, which ruled against Nutrilite. From the training and the association Renborg gained at Dale Carnegie's program on, quote, influencing people, his business would develop a culture of deception far exceeding his earlier exaggerations about his products or his background. It would also be based on the exploitation of friendships for profit, the first business ever designed to convert all social and family ties to commercial relations. In 1948, soon after Renborg signed an exclusive sales contract with Castleberry and Mittinger, the U.S. Food and Drug Administration raided Nutrilite locations and seized inventory, charging Nutrilite, Castleberry, and Mittinger's distribution company and Carl Renborg personally with making false medical claims to sell vitamins and recruit thousands of salespeople. The FDA case described extraordinary and utterly false claims made by Nutrilite in sales literature regarding promised benefits of ingesting Nutrilite vitamins. The Nutrilite distributors had been trained to repeat the falsehoods both to consumers and, more importantly, to all prospective distributors, vastly multiplying the deception. The claims and statements were documented in a sales booklet, presumably written by psychologist Castleberry, which the government cited for prosecution. But as part of its legal maneuvering, Mittinger and Castleberry reworded the booklet so that the case eventually opened the doors to today's misleading and meaninglessly worded promotions by vitamin and supplement makers that promise miraculous health benefits without directly claiming to provide any therapeutic value at all. William W. Goodrich, former general counsel of the FDA, who served in the agency from 1939 to 1971 and was directly involved in the Nutrilite prosecution, described the duplicity used to market Nutrilite's products and its campaign of deception. Referring to the Nutrilite recruiting and sales sessions the FDA had recorded, Goodrich recalled, "They were going wild. They were making every kind of claim you could possibly make. We knew that was so, and Mittinger and Castleberry denied it under oath and on their word to God that it wasn't happening, but we knew it was." In the decade before signing on with his new marketing managers, Renborg acknowledged that the value of his concoctions was, quote, speculative. Like all makers of vitamins, he did not have to disclose the full contents or prove they would cause no harm. Yet the FDA's charges were not about inherent worthlessness, disclosure of contents, or potential toxicity of the products. Rather, the case focused on how Mittinger and Castleberry were deceptively using the products to enroll distributors and sell the goods. Biographically, the FDA case shows how far Carl Renborg had descended, as Mittinger and Castleberry were making him very rich. Repeated in the bright and fact-based light of the federal lawsuit, Nutrilite's preposterous lies appeared almost comical. The lies were not hidden or embedded, but put forth with assumed scientific authority in a company booklet circulated to hundreds of thousands with an official-sounding title, How to Get Well and Stay Well, an echo of psychologist Castleberry's own book, How to Use Psychology in Everyday Living. As the case proceeded, the FDA contended that Nutrilite's deception did not decline, but actually escalated from deceiving consumers and would-be salespeople to also deceiving the government. The charge referred to what Nutrilite itself called a, quote, new language. In the, quote, new language, astounding, life-changing claims were made while simultaneously denying them categorically. Mittinger would have been very familiar and adept with the crafted misuse of language. In the funeral and cemetery sales business, where Mittinger had worked for decades, language manipulation was central to its business model, as Jessica Mitford explained in The American Way of Death. Among the invented euphemisms, funeral director for mortician and coffins for caskets. Most important for profit purposes was to depict the dead person as if still living and therefore able to observe and judge the family's choices for their repose, including the, quote, view from the gravesite. Nutrilite's new language, however, went far beyond euphemisms. It produced a special vocabulary and way of speaking that cover over facts by authoritatively asserting their opposite. It was a precursor to what would evolve in MLM into an Orwellian doublespeak, in which controlled and manipulated contractors become, quote, independent business owners. Quota purchasing became selling. Wholesale was designated retail. Distributor morphed into end user. And 99% loss rates were proclaimed, quote, the greatest income opportunity in the world. The term doublespeak is associated with George Orwell's famous novel 1984, published in 1949. The term doublespeak is not used in Orwell's novel. It is derived from two other linguistic devices described in the book, doublethink and newspeak. Orwell's earlier masterpiece that also addresses the destruction of truth, Animal Farm, A Fairy Story, was published the same year Renborg signed his contract with Mittinger and Castleberry, 1945. The absurd but audacious lying employed by Nutrilite in its sales booklet is detailed in the government's case. The booklet represented without qualification that Nutrilite is an effective therapeutic agent for low blood pressure, ulcers, menstrual depression, pyorrhea, faulty vision, high blood pressure, and irregular heartbeat. At another point, the booklet implied that cancer, diabetes, and tuberculosis would respond to Nutrilite treatment. Government prosecutors then described how Nutrilite claimed it revised the booklet and corrected deceptions to avoid a criminal proceeding. To convey to the public the false and misleading impression that Nutrilite food supplement will cure every ailment and disease afflicting mankind, and yet avoid mentioning any specific disease names, the defendants inaugurated a subterfuge, which they called, quote, new language. The new language insists that Nutrilite will cure nothing. The patient merely gets well through the use of Nutrilite. The doublespeak that Nutrilite developed around products to escape prosecution would later expand to an all-encompassing proprietary vocabulary covering MLM's pyramid structure, false marketing claims, money transfer pay plan, and would conceal or obscure the roles of recruiters. It would be taught with propaganda techniques involving constant repetition of thought-stopping aphorisms. For example, quote, only quitters lose and only losers quit, resulting, as Orwell explained, in an inability for followers to hold contrary thoughts or to formulate questions. It constructs a parallel reality with alternative facts. Some would later call it brainwashing.